Okay, I just want to go back. At the end of strings, I want you to try out this your turn, which is create a variable that has your name all in lowercase, and then modify the string so that it capitalizes your first and last name and prints it out to the string, to the screen. And then at the end of the list section, I'm putting in a new um, example that I want you to try out. First, to create a list that has the numbers 0 to 4. What I mean by that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then add a new entry to the end of the list with the number 5. And then add a new entry to the list that has the letters A through E. So print it out. This is what it should look like, your list in the end. Okay, now I want to move on to loops. So remember, loops is a programming ability to be able to write code where it repeats the sequence of code a certain amount of times. So for loops, you can specify up front how many times you want that code to be repeated. So let's look at the format of the for loop. The first one is the keyword for, and then some kind of counter variable. So I is frequently used, but there's no reason that it has to be I. And then the keyword in, followed by the set number of times that the loop should repeat. So there's a number of different ways that you could identify a set number of times. One way is the range function. So the range function will give you all numbers from 0 up to, but not including the number listed in the parentheses, meaning that for I in range 3 will give you 0, 1, and 2. It will still go around 3 times, but I each time through is going to start similar to index with a 0 and then a 1 and a 2. So it's going to look like 4, some counter variable, the keyword in, then range 3 is one way to tell it how to iterate. And importantly, it has to be followed by a colon. And then after that, you have a block of code. Here, you're only seeing one line of code, but there could be numerous lines of code that, and the way that that Python knows that it should be executed within this for loop is the indentation. It has to be indented in the same amount. So here, this is going to be, for this one, hip hip hooray is going to be printed 3 different times, right? So if you look at how it's run here, the first time through, it's going to print hip hip hooray, and I is going to have the value of 0, then 1, then 2. It's going to go up to, but not including 3. So it's never going to see an I of 3. And then once this is done, it will print after the block, because that is no longer within that for loop. So the range function can either take on just a single value, and then that presumes that it starts with 0, or it can take on a start position if it's something other than 0, a stop position, and a step position. So in this case, right, so range 4, 13, 4 is going to count the numbers from 4 through 12, because remember, it's going to go up to, but not including the 13, but it's going to skip every 4. So it's going to start with 4, skip 4 to 8, skip 4 to 12, and then it's reached the end. So here, this is going to be, right, so now we're changing this up to be 1, 15, 3. It's going to start with 1, skip 3 to 4, skip 3 to 7, to 10, to 13. At 14, it would be the last number anyway, and then that's going to be the end of it. So here's two ways to easily print from a list, right? So either you could know the length of the list, and you could say for I in range 3, print it out. Or a simpler way to do it is to just say for I in fruits, meaning it's going to start with the first and go all the way through to the end. So both of these are going to print out that same apples, bananas, grapes, oranges, pears, kiwis, and that's from this first print. And the second print is once again going to go through all of them. Okay, so you could either iterate by doing some kind of a range, or you can iterate through a list by just literally giving the list and it will go all the way through. Okay, so that was a for loop. So remember, a for loop you use when you know exactly how many times you want to repeat that code. A while loop is a little bit different because how a while loop is going to work is it's going to go through that loop until the condition that's mentioned within the while is no longer true. So, and then it too will have a colon at the end. So the while is the keyword, the colon is key, and then what comes here is whatever test you are doing to determine whether it's like the Boolean is true or false. Okay, so here, let's take a quick look at what we're doing. We're creating password is equal to none. Now remember, none by itself is going to always equal to false. So the first thing it's saying, well, password is not equal to my password 1234, right? So this while loop will continuously loop as long as the password variable is not going to be the same as the specific password string that it's looking for. So in this quick code, what it's saying is that you're going to do this loop, then you're going to, so the first time through, none is not going to be equal to my password. Then you're asking the user to enter a password. You're checking to see if the password is not equal to the value that you're looking for. If it's not equal to the value that you're looking for, you're going to enter your password is incorrect. And then notice what happens. These 3 lines here are part of my while loop. So if my password is incorrect, then it's going to go back up to, it's going to check while password, so password is whatever value they entered that was different from my 1234. It's going to compare that once again to the string my password 1234, and then it's going to enter it. So this is going to continuously go around and around until the user enters this exact string. Once they enter the string, right? So when this while is no longer true, then it's going to print out correct password and welcome. So here, whereas this was just handwritten, I wanted to see it actually working. So let's say ABC first. So your password is incorrect. Now I can try my password 234. Now notice it's still incorrect because it is case sensitive. So now if I want to come out of here, this word. So now it's finally, this while is no longer going to be true. So now it's going to come out of the loop and print out correct password. So there's 2 additional concepts for loops that I'm just going to mention. One is the concept of an infinite loop, meaning imagine here, well, this isn't truly an infinite loop, even though it could go on for a very long time. You're going to stay within that loop again and again and again until they actually enter the correct password. As long as they don't enter the correct password, you're going to be staying programmatically within that loop. Another way that you can have, well, the main way that you can have an infinite loop is if you have no way of altering what it's testing in the while within your loop, then you have no way of coming out of it. So let's say I say, while true is equal to true, right? So true is going to always equal to true. So I have no way of breaking out of that loop. And another thing that I want to mention, which I'm not going to go into further than that, is you can have a concept of a nested loop. So you can have a for loop and then a while loop within that for loop, if that's what programmatically it makes sense to do. Okay, this is, okay, I'm gonna break here for a minute.